Good morning, beloveds. You can probably just see her right there over my shoulder. That's Gabby. Gabby doesn't usually, I have no rights to pick her up. Tom can pick her up and carry her around, but I cannot. And, but she's on the bed behind me. So I was like, all right, Gabby gets to make a cameo today. She's the one who has no inside voice. She's very loud. All right. It is November 5th. Our title is All That Is God Created, and our author is Mary Baker Eddy. This is from her book, Unity of Good, 1887. Yeah, Mary Baker Eddy is an interesting one. If you don't know who she is, look her up. All right, all that is God created. All that is God created. If sin has any pretense of existence, God is responsible therefore. But there is no reality in sin, for God can no more behold it or acknowledge it than the sun can coexist with darkness. To build the individual spiritual sense, conscious of only health, holiness, and heaven, on the foundation of an eternal mind, which is conscious of sickness, sin, and death, is a moral impossibility, for other foundations can no man lay than that is already lain. And that's 1 Corinthians 3:11. The nearer we approximate to such a mind, even if it were or could be God, the more real those mind pictures would become to us, until the hope of ever eluding their dread presence must yield to despair, and the haunting sense of evil forever accompany our being. Mortals may climb the smooth glaciers, leap the dark fissures, and scale the treacherous ice, and stand on the summit of Mont Blanc, but they can never turn back what the deity knoweth, nor escape from identification with what dwelleth in the eternal mind. I told you she was an interesting one. So what she's trying to tell us is I want to say that there's no such thing as sin, okay? But that's not quite what I mean. So let me not say that, even though I've said it. The best definition for sin I have ever seen was one of my friends that I met while I was in ministerial school, Reverend Sherry. And what she said was, sin is self-inflicted nonsense, which is effectively what Mary Baker Eddy just said. Look, if you are going to think about sickness, death, and despair, and you're going to dwell on sickness, ill health, sin, and despair, then eventually it's going to overcome your mind. God doesn't know sickness. God doesn't know sin. God doesn't know despair, because that's not what God is. Okay? God is life. God is health. God is peace. God is joy. So these other things, God doesn't know that. So it behooves us to do our work, and focus on what God is, not what God isn't. And then, because she quoted Corinthians about the foundations. Like, God's already laid these foundations. Everything after God laid those foundations, that's been us making choices. And occasionally we make foolish choices. Okay? So, evil isn't a power in and of itself. It is a misuse of the power that we have. So what she's saying is, don't focus on that. Because the more you focus on it, and that's Mary Baker Eddy's shtick. I shouldn't call it that, but she towards the end she got a little weird. But Christian Science has an extremely they've got a lot of evidence about how treatment works. Like, demonstrations. They've got a lot of evidence of demonstrations of how this thing works. Now, we disagree with them on a couple of points. They're like, Christian Science is like, well, no, don't go to doctors. Because if you go to doctors and we're like, no, go to doctors. We'll treat and you can go to the doctor. you should go to the doctor. Because Ernest said that everything under the sun comes from God. So therefore, the medication that you're taking and the doctor is also of God. Please, do that. But so Mary Baker was onto something when she said, focus on the good. Don't focus on this nonsense. If sin is self-inflicted nonsense, then let's not focus on that. Let's focus on all of the good, all of the foundations. That's what she called it. Don't try and lay your own foundations. Go back to the foundations that God laid for you. She says the nearer we approximate such a mind, and that's what it's like, the more real those mind pictures would become. And so we can do the same thing in the positive and the negative. So our goal is to focus on the positive. We don't have to relay the foundations. God's already done that. What we have to do is focus on the foundations and build up from those foundations. Because when we try and lay our own foundations, that may be where we've been building on sand. It's like God's already built the rock foundation of, good. That's what we need to be building on, not the self-inflicted nonsense, or what did she call it? Sickness, sin, and death. She calls it a moral impossibility, and I'm like, okay, but that's why she quoted the Corinthians. God's already laid the foundations. What we need to do is focus on those foundations and build from those foundations. Because if we focus on the sickness, sin, and death, then she says, and this is Christian Science, the haunting sense of evil forever accompany our being. So we want to turn away from that. We want to turn away from that. And it doesn't mean that we don't fix it. It means that we do our job and we fix what we need to fix. And if we have made mistakes, then we make amends and, we correct our errors, but we go back to the foundations of God, which are good, and build from that and focus on that. All right. So that's, Mary Baker Eddy is very interesting. And she taught, she is the one who taught Emma Curtis Hopkins. So it's like, don't discount her, even though she's got some weird ideas. Don't discount her. Because she taught the teacher of teachers. But Emma Curtis Hopkins took it so much further than Mary Baker Eddy did. And that's where you can trace our roots. It's like Ernest Holmes was taught by Emma Curtis Hopkins, and Emma Curtis Hopkins got started by Mary Baker Eddy. She came via Mary Baker Eddy. And then they came to a disagreement, and Emma Curtis Hopkins went off and really launched into, where we are today and what we think. And Mary Baker Eddy actually was healed by Phineas Parker Quimby. So if you want to look at our roots, those are our roots. And I encourage you to go back and read them. Quimby didn't write anything, but his people wrote his stuff down. So go back and look. Read Mary Baker Eddy. Read Emma Curtis Hopkins. And then some of the language can get a little weird because it's archaic. Just translate it into modern language. And that's where you get to separate the wheat from the chaff. Because Mary Baker Eddy's got some ideas that I'm just like, nope. I don't need those. Because Emma and Ernest refined them beyond what she did. And so look at our roots and build those foundations. So the mission today, should we choose to accept it, is exactly that. Stop trying to build your own foundation. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Go back to the foundation that God laid for you. Go back to the good and let all of the rest of it that is not God go. It's not going to build you strong walls. So go back to the God foundation. That is the mission. And I like it. Thank you, Mary Baker Eddy. The other mission is the same mission I give you every day, which is the spiritual practice of self-care. Do something loving for yourself. Do something kind for yourself. Do something compassionate for yourself. Whatever that looks like for you today. This is my last official day of vacation. And so, the sad news is I'm taking my brother back to the airport and I'm going to miss him. But, I appreciate that he'll take a week vacation and come down and spend a week with me. And we did a whole lot of just hanging out. We just did a whole lot of hanging out, and it was good. But I'm going to come home from dropping him off at the airport, and I'm going to take a nap. And that's one of the suggestions. The most basic suggestion I can give you is take a deep breath before you speak, especially to yourself. Especially to yourself. Because you'll talk to yourself more than you will anybody else. But it gives you that moment to think about, to go back to your foundation. To go back to your foundation. Is this helpful? Is this kind? Is this compassionate? Is this loving? And if it's not any of those things, then either you don't need to be saying it, or you need to find a better way to say it. So, because sometimes we do have to say hard things, but we can find loving, kind, and compassionate ways to do it. That's why you want to take that deep breath. Take a walk, take a nap, take a break. The human equivalent of turning it off and turning it back on again. Enjoy your vacations. Take them and enjoy them. Don't overschedule yourself. That is one of the most loving, kind, and compassionate things you can do for yourself. And then I'm going to remind you, I like to say eat dessert first, and sometimes I literally mean it. I'm a big believer in chocolate is the first step to fixing anything. But what I mean is to go out of your way to make the ordinary extraordinary more often. Don't wait and save all of the fancy clothes and the fancy dishware for holidays. Try it on an ordinary Tuesday and just make it a little more extraordinary. Don't save the good stuff is what I'm saying. Don't save the good stuff. I also want to remind you that joy is a quality of God. Therefore, joy is a quality of you. Make room for joy. I also like to say spend love recklessly, because it's not coming from you, it's coming through you. And you are plugged into an infinite source. That's when I talk about this self-care. What I'm asking you to do is to create a well-worn path to the source of your own being, to plug into the source of your own being. I say that. It's very mechanical for me. I literally envision a plug going into the wall and feel that flowing back at me. The truth is we're plugged in all the time. Most of the time, what we're doing is standing on the hose. So we need to get off the hose. So this reminder to be loving, kind, and compassionate to yourself is just that. Go to the source of your own being. Everything that you need is there in an infinite source. Go there. Don't try and white knuckle your life. You don't have to. You have a silent partner who is more than willing to provide everything that you need if you are, one, willing to listen, and two, willing to get off the hose. So, unkink your hose. All right. So love, kindness, compassion, practice on yourself. 1, I do want you to create a habit. 2, you are your own best subject. 3, and most important, you're a beloved child of God. You deserve your own love. You deserve your own kindness. You deserve your own compassion. Practice on yourself. All right, beloveds. The rest of the suggestions are the same basic ones I give you every day. Do something to engage your mind and your body, whatever that looks like for you today. I got to do some fun things in the gym today. Drink plenty of water. Hydration is super important. And it helps your brain work better, your body work better, your digestion work better, your skin looks better. I'm a big believer in hydration. Drink plenty of water, especially as we move into the cooler season where we don't tend to drink as much, but we're running the heat all the time and then we end up dehydrated. Drink plenty of water. Get that early in your morning bright light. The time change was nice because it meant that as I was on my way to the gym, the sun was already up. Although it was really foggy this morning, like pea soup thick fog. It was really incredible. It wasn't when we first got in the car and drove out, and then we hit a certain point and was like, where did this fog come from? And it stayed foggy. And then we turned into our neighborhood and we were like, where'd the fog go? There's no fog in our neighborhood. Go figure. I don't know. It is what it is, right? All right. But what I was talking about was 5 to 10 minutes of bright light early in your day. If you get up before the sun, or well after the sun, because 7 to 9 in the morning is the ultimate time to the sun's at the perfect angle to get your vitamin D and all that stuff. Artificial light will count too. And if you need it, you can Google either sun lamp or seasonal effect disorder lights. At this point, they're light bulbs you could screw into lamps. So I commend those to you if you need them. All right. I'm now at the part where I remind you I'm going to do an Ernest Holmes quote. Open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you, you do live in heaven right here, right now. It is all around us all the time. What do I mean by that? Heaven is a state of mind. It is not a place you have to get to, but can become any place you are once you recognize state of mind, state of consciousness. Once you learn to create it for yourself, any place can become heaven. That superpower. Yes, superpower. You are your own superhero. Once you learn to create that heavenly state of mind. I'm going to remind you, Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you. That's what he was talking about. When we activate the Christ consciousness, and the password is love, that's how you activate the Christ consciousness, then heaven can become any place. And that's just, really, honestly, that is the coolest thing ever. It's not a place you have to get to, but can be any place you are. And if we want to create a world that works for everybody, that's the work we do. We create the heavenly mindset in ourselves. We become islands of peace. We become islands of calm, and we hold our light up so people can see where to put their feet. We can't walk their path for them, but we can give them peaceful places where they can get themselves together and learn where to put their feet. Learn to do it for themselves. All right. Now I'm going to do the social media after I remind you to take Emma Curtis Hopkins' advice, look for the good and praise it. You want to create a heavenly mindset? Count your blessings. Count your blessings. Because once you start looking, you find so many of them that you hadn't noticed in the first place. You find all the little bitty ones that add up into the good that your life can be. All right. Now, social media. We are Creative Life Spiritual Center, Creative Life Spark. I'm the running Rev Ryan on the social medias that I am on. I commend to you all of them. Facebook seems like it's giving me a bit more of a pass on letting me share stuff. So hopefully you'll start seeing some more of those posts. They got really weird social media. Yeah, it is what it is. We try and put light, helpful, bright, funny, enlightening stuff up. Stuff to make you think. All right? But not too hard. Not too hard. There's time for that, but social media isn't necessarily that place. You want to know what's going on with the center? Email info@creativelife.org. That'll get you on the constant contact. All right. I'm now at the part where I get to encourage you to have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day, a hydration day, a dress and layers day, a focus on your foundations day, a know who you are day, a good day, and if that is too much pressure, simply have a day. Because you are enough, just as you are. You are a beloved child of God. You are spirit in motion. You are God in action. You are a brilliant light. You are a divine spark. Or as Reverend Jesse likes to call us, you're a godling. All right, beloveds. I need to go eat breakfast because I'm starving. So I'm going to remind you, Reverend David will be on around 5 p.m. with you. I'll be back with you around 9 a.m. We go back to regularly scheduled everything, including background. But it's Sunday, so we'll have an amazing service for you right here at 11 on Facebook Live or later on YouTube. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, just go over to the Creative Life Spiritual Center and look at the playlist, and you can find any one you want that we have up there. All right, beloveds, take care of yourself. Know that you are loved, and I will see you next time.